As one of the oldest continuously operational motorcycle manufacturers in the world, Moto Guzzi has a rich heritage. And one of the things that continues to make this brand special today is the way it honors tradition. The V9 Roamer here is an excellent example of that. So the V9 Roamer is part cruiser, part standard, part classic custom. It's got a really neutral ride position. The handlebars are swept back. You get sort of forward mid-mount foot control and a really comfortable retro styled seat. It's got touches of the old V35, V50, even Nevada 750 models from Guzzi's past. And for me, the ride position, it's sort of a mixed bag. I really appreciate the seat. The padding is really plush. You know, the handlebar reach is natural. I'm not a real big fan of the placement of the foot pegs. You know, they are just slightly forward, just enough to kind of give you that cruiser feel. But for me, especially when you're, bombing down the freeway, I get a little bit of tension in the hips. That's really the only problem with the ride position, but I would prefer the foot controls to be pushed back maybe an inch or so. That being said, tooling around town is no sweat, and the motorcycle's really comfortable, for shorter stints, lower speeds, things like that. The 853cc transverse mount 90-degree V-twin is another hallmark feature of the V9 Roamer, and another way Guzzi honors its past. This configuration of engine first came into Guzzi's line in the late 60s and has essentially remained there in some configuration ever since. This particular engine was introduced for the 2016 model year. It's got a lot of character to it. It rumbles to life. You can feel the bike shake when you hit the start switch. It's got a nice growl when you take off. The mid-range is got decent pull, but it starts to taper off. Once you start getting up in the revs a little bit. It's good for around town. It has no problem on the interstate. Actually, you've got quite a bit of engine. You can hold it in fifth smooth, 65, 70, 75, no problem. 6 is like an overdrive at that point. But the real, winning feature of this engine is just the fact that you can feel it when you're rolling down the road. It's got that visceral sort of rider-machine relationship thing going on with this bike that is sort of a hallmark of classic motorcycles in general, and something that you don't always get with more modern machines. And even though you got the cylinder heads out on either side, sitting inches away from your shins in the ride position, I never had any problem with excessive heat during rides. The clutch overall, transmission, worked pretty flawlessly. You get a healthy click when you're moving up and down through the gears. Lever pull is light enough not to cause fatigue, but there it is a little bit taut. Engagement is progressive and intuitive. Really the only problem that I had with the transmission was sometimes it was a little bit tricky to find neutral. The suspension package on this is fairly straightforward. You get a dual shock setup out back, you get conventional forks out front. They do the job over surface streets, minor imperfections, things like that. This bike isn't really meant for, high-level performance anyway, so, cruising around town, taking a nice leisurely ride up into the woods, it does great. The braking package on this is solid. You get a Brembo caliper, single disc setup out front that is responsive, offers really good feel, and doesn't lock up or bite on you even if you get deep into the pull. The rear brake is similarly nice. You get a good response, good feel out back as well. In keeping with the classic aesthetic of the bike, Guzzi has fixed a single dial instrument panel there. It's got an analog speedometer. There's no tachometer on there, but you do get a digital display that offers quite a bit of information. Things like trip meters, fuel consumption, your gear position indicator, things like that. You can toggle through all of the display options using a simple little switch on the left-hand switch gear. But there's another button there for traction control. The Guzzi V9 comes with 2 levels of traction control. You can adjust them on the fly. You know, it's a nice modern convenience on a bike that really just sort of screams classic nostalgia. I played around with both settings in some different scenarios, and it's really sort of non-invasive. ABS is included on the V9 Roamer as well. So the care of craftsmanship is apparent in just about every detail of this bike. I mean, the controls all work smooth, flawlessly. The attention to detail in the pinstriping, the paint on the tank, the shape of the tank, the mudguard, the seat, I mean, it's all really high quality, head-turning design, basically. I mean, you can't go anywhere on this bike and not strike up a conversation with someone. I've been asked more than once, you know, how do you keep this classic bike looking so great? And, you know, I have to tell them it's a 2017, this model's brand new, and most of the time they're just astounded because this bike looks like it's straight out of the 60s. If you want classic bike looks, classic bike character with some modern safety features and modern reliability, the Moto Guzzi V9 Roamer is going to have you really pleased.